Well, I think the title working artist is really most appropriate to describe who I am and what I've done throughout my life and my career. I have worked at many different kinds of things, and happily they've all been related and connected to music, which is really the ideal way to live as far as I'm concerned. I came along as a graduate student at Yale in the 60s when I really was exposed to the music of living composers for the very first time in my life. As an undergraduate student, I played the standard repertoire, and of course I still do. I think I wouldn't be much of a pianist if I didn't. But in any case, I champion new music because it is a cause that I believe in, and it's one that I really feel very strongly about. One of the things that was very important in terms of my education at Yale was that I met many composers who were looking for performers, of course, to do their music. It's not unlike what happens in most schools. And because I could read very well, I was able to get a lot of opportunities to play, as did my classmates at that time. And they could play pretty much anything that was put in front of them. And I was challenged by that. And I said, well, if they can do that, then I can do that too. Not such a big deal. So I did. And I had many wonderful opportunities to perform music that was just fresh off the press, as they say. I also was influenced very much by the civil rights movement which was going on at that time during the 60s, as well as all of the struggles for social and cultural equality. And I must say that almost everyone in my generation was certainly affected by those movements, and to some extent we still feel the residue of that today, because while the battles may be a little different, some of that of course still lingers. We're still dealing with issues of equality and so on. I should digress a little bit and say something about my formal training. I grew up in New Orleans, and I came from a family of musicians. My mother was a church soloist. I had aunts who played the piano, and then several uncles on my father's side who played jazz in the brass bands that played for the funerals and for carnival in New Orleans. And so those influences are very much part of my training. I had a music teacher who used to come to our home on Saturday mornings, and she not only gave me lessons on the standard repertoire, but also taught me theory and solfege, which of course is a very necessary and crucial part of any kind of formal training in music. So I was very lucky to have had that training early on. The second thing that describes me as a working artist is, of course, my commitment to teaching. I think it is really important for anyone who calls themselves an artist, working artist, or performer, is to pass on what we have learned and experienced to future generations. Teaching is a very very important component of what I do in terms of music, and of course my career as a pianist. And I have taught for many, many years, and I feel strongly committed to it, and I have combined that aspect of my work with all of the other things that I do as a performing artist. I feel that they kind of affect one another in a very, very positive way. The other thing that is necessary too is that we are not going to be around forever, and of course we are going to leave it up to the younger generation of musicians to carry on some of the legacy that we will leave behind. So I do feel committed to teaching and to passing on what I have learned. The third component of my work involves community service. I'm sure that everyone who views this DVD will be familiar with the term giving back to the community, and that is something that I have always done. I do a lot of concerts in retirement homes, places where senior citizens congregate. I do a lot of work in the churches, prisons, anywhere where there is a need for music and art to be created and made. And again, I feel very fortunate to have been able to do that throughout my life. My family certainly felt that this should also be included as part of my work. And I also look to great artists who were humanitarians as well, like Rostropovich, the great cellist, Leonard Bernstein, and Paul Robeson, the singer who was also a political activist. They believed in giving something back to the community, and of course they spoke out against injustice. This is another aspect of my life, the fact that I think artists should be politically aware and awake, and not just subsist in an ivory tower where all one does is just simply practice and make great music. It's important to be able to do that, but it's also important to be politically aware, and when the occasion presents itself, to be able to speak out in a way that is positive about various things that are going on in our culture and in the world. It doesn't necessarily mean that one has to carry a sign or wave a flag, but we have many, many choices. And of course, that is one thing that I have done throughout my life. I've never been afraid to express what I have felt about all of the great political issues of the day, and I still do to a large extent, and I'm very, very proud of that. I'd like to close with a quote from the current music director of LA Opera, James Conlon. He is an incredible musician, and he has devoted his life, of course, to making great art through opera and conducting. And this is an article that was published in Opera News some time ago, and it really resonated very strongly with me, so I'd like to read it for you now. Conlon says that, I think that performing artists have only recently awakened to the realization that we do not exist in an ivory tower. We've got to get out there and roll up our sleeves. There's a need to find more meaning in music, to understand it on a deeper level, and to be educated about it. He also goes on to say, not enough is being done to get people to music earlier. Music should be a part of everyone's life. It does not have to consume a life, but certainly everyone should have an experience with it, and they should be exposed to it. And of course, I certainly believe that as well. The next statement reads as follows. For many people, the classical arts have fallen off the radar screen. That is the result of societal narcissism, the idea that only contemporary thoughts have value and that the past is no longer relevant. Artists have got to fight back, not for our own purposes. We have to fight back so that the arts do not fall out of everyone's education, because art teaches you, it makes you evolve. This is what makes us fully human. Finally, at the end, he says, whether people are impressed with you is not the ultimate question. The question is to be able to live your life in pursuit of your passion in an honest and humble way. I do not feel that I'm better than other people because I'm doing what I love. I feel privileged. And frankly, I don't think I could have said it any better than that. That really expresses for me what this is all about. I feel very, very privileged and very special to be able to do what I do, and more importantly, to share it with anyone who cares to listen. So thank you for listening to me. And may this DVD be shared by many, many people who feel that the arts should be an integral and vital part of their lives.